Latvian language, Latviešu valoda. For Awnnett.Latvian by Gerard Wesley Beyer, 2024. Welcome guys, my name's Gerard, so sveiks, es esmu Gerards. Hi, I'm Gerard. Laipni lūdzu, welcome. This course is brought to you by myself, Gerard Wesley Beyer, a language enthusiast and the founder of Awnnett Language Center. I am essentially a self-taught who loves languages and teaching. Awnnett.Latvian is Awnett's brand name for its Latvian language learning materials. So guys, welcome to this second episode. So this is the second episode of this series. And before we dive into new materials, I would like to have a recap of the main points that we have seen in the first episode, so episode 1. So here are some main points. The first one being the Latvian language is one of the only two Baltic languages still alive. So the second Baltic language still alive is the Lithuanian language, if you remember. And the Latvian language has been influenced by the German, Russian, and the English language. So this is certainly because of the history of Latvia. So the history made so that the language has been influenced by German, Russian, and English. Anglicisms is on the rise, and this since 1990, when Latvia regained its independence. And Latvian has now adopted many English words, and these cognates, so similar words, words with similar roots, I should say, should help foreigners learn Latvian a little bit easier, with more ease, yeah, more easily, sorry. All right. So the Latvian language is an official language of the European Union. Latvia, the Republic of Latvia, is a member of the European Union. So it joined the Union in 2004, and as a consequence, Latvian became an official language of the European Union. The Latvian language is spoken by 2 million people, and out of this, 1.5 million are native speakers. The Latvian language is on the decline, unfortunately, but it is still relatively safe with about 2 million speakers. Moving on, so the Latvian language has a common language ancestor with one of the oldest documented language in the world. So in the whole world, this is the Sanskrit language. So one of the oldest documented language in the world. The Latvian language is the only official language of Latvia and is also protected by its constitution, which is called Satversme. Alright guys, so we have reviewed most of the points that we have seen in the first episode. In this episode, we're going to talk about history, the history of Latvia and its people. So Vesture, Latvias Vesture, this is how you say the history of Latvia. So Vesture is just history, Latvias Vesture, the history of Latvia. So we're going to look at interesting facts and important dates for Latvians and for Latvia. So dates about Latvia, interesting facts about Latvia. So if you're ready, let's go. Let's start. All right, here we're going to talk about Latvia being officially called the Republic of Latvia. So Latvia, officially called the Republic of Latvia, declared its independence on the 18th November 1918. So every year, each year, Latvia celebrates its independence, the anniversary of its independence on the 18th of November. So it occurred shortly, the acquisition of the independence. it occurred shortly after the second, not the second, but after the end of the First World War. On the 11th November 1918, more precisely, that's when the First World War ended. So shortly after that, Latvia declared its independence on the 18th November of the same year, 1918. So it's only 7 days after. In a time of war and revolutions, Latvia seized its opportunity to break away from both the German Empire and Russia. So at that time, yeah, at that time there were already some revolutions going on, but Latvia was under the German Empire as well as under the Russian Empire. But because of the revolutions happening, so the Latvians saw the opportunity to acquire their independence. So indeed, the German Empire was freshly defeated in the First World War, and the Germans were on the verge of the revolution of the 1918 and 1919 against the monarchy and to become a democracy, whereas Russia just had the revolution of 1917, also a revolution against the monarchy. All right, moving on. However, Latvia had to wait till the 26th of January 1921 to be recognized by the Soviet Russia and Germany as a new sovereign nation. As you can understand, because there was a war going on, not war, but there was a revolution in Germany. So let's get back just to see dates here. So in 1918, between 1918 and 1919, there was a revolution in Germany, and so also Russia just had their revolution a year before in 1917. So Russia was no longer an empire but became a Sovietic state, so the Soviet Russia. And so, however, Latvia had to wait till the 26th of January 1921 to be recognized by the Soviet Russia and Germany as a new sovereign nation. Yeah. Kārlis Ulmanis. Who is that person? Kārlis Ulmanis became the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Latvia, and Jānis Čakste, the first President of the Republic of Latvia. So two very important figures, persons for Latvians and for Latvia. So here we have a portrait of Jānis Čakste, the first President of Latvia, and also a portrait of, you guessed it, Kārlis Ulmanis, the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Latvia, and also the fourth President, this time, of Latvia. So he occupied both functions, Prime Minister and also President of Latvia. So he has been the fourth President of Latvia between the 11th of April 1936 to the 21st of July 1940. Okay, so now let's talk about the Constitution of Latvia, the Latvian Constitution. Satversme, that's how they call it, was adopted by the people of Latvia as represented by the Constitutional Assembly of Latvia. There was an assembly, there was kind of a council called the Constitutional Assembly of Latvia. So their job was to make the Constitution of Latvia. So that's why it's called the Constitutional Assembly of Latvia. And on the 15th of February 1922, so they adopted the constitution of Latvia, Satversme, and this constitution, the Satversme, was acted on the 7th of November 1922. The Satversme laid the foundation of the Republic of Latvia by establishing the governing bodies such as the Parliament, Saima, that's how the Latvians call their Parliament, Saima, and the state of president, among others, for example, the court and so of justice and other institutions. But just to name a few, Saima and the state of president. So that was on the 7th November 1922, because if you look back, they had to wait till January 26, 1921 to to be recognized, although they they declared their independence in 1918. All right, so yeah, let's move on, guys. In the midst of political threats, however, and divergence, so political divergence, political threats, the Prime Minister Kārlis Ulmanis, the Prime Minister, and also he was just he was Prime Minister, and also he was just Prime Minister at that time. I'm just checking if I put everything rightly, but he was just at that time the Prime Minister of the Republic of Latvia, Kārlis Ulmanis. So in the midst of political threats and divergence, he issued a decree on the 15th of May 1934 declaring a state of siege in Latvia. So the Saima, the parliament, and all the political parties were dissolved. So they were dismissed. Everything was stopped. Latvia entered into autocracy after the coup staged by Kārlis Ulmanis, as he became also the dictator of Latvia. He went on to become the president on the 11th of April 1936. So 1936, you see, that's when he became the president. But before, he was just the minister, the prime minister. In 1939, however, so we were on the verge of having the Second World War. The World War II broke out in 1939, and this led to the invasion and occupation of Latvia. So that's when, of course, Kārlis Ulmanis stopped being the president and the prime minister of Latvia because of the invasion of Latvia. On June 17, 1940, Latvia was invaded by the Red Army. On June 20th, the formation of a new government was announced. On July 21st, the new Saima voted for the incorporation of Latvia into the USSR, and on August the 5th, the USSR accepted this incorporation of Latvia within the USSR. And Latvia became Latvia SSR. And in the late 1980s, however, so Latvia has been occupied all that time, Latvia knew a national renaissance, and as a result, the Latvian Popular Front, which is a party, so Latvian Popular Front, emerged in 1988 as a strong political opposition and finished victorious in the 1990. So in that period of 1985 to 1991, the Soviet Union's economy was disastrous. The USSR was in a cold war with the United States of America, and at war with Afghanistan. So the Soviet Union leader of that time, so Mikhail Gorbachev, attempted to restructure the Union with the help of the Reform Party Perestroika, and he came up with the Glasnost, a freedom of information policy. However, um, this didn't help much. Actually, maybe it helped. It depends how you look at it. Nonetheless, the wave of democratic demonstrations led to the revolution of 1989, which is a revolution against communism, and this led also to the fall of the Berlin Wall, a big event, a very historical moment. And in 1989, the Supreme Soviet of the USSR adopted a resolution on the occupation of the Baltic states. We have to say that the Lithuanians, the Latvians, and the Estonians, they were all fighting to regain their independence because they say that they don't belong to this Sovietic state, to this Soviet Union. And so the Supreme Soviet of the USSR, they passed a resolution on the occupation of the Baltic states, the Free States, in which it declared that the occupation is not in accordance with law, so this is unlawful, and not the will of the Soviet people. So the Soviet people don't want to impose this on the Baltic states, on the people of the Baltic states. Therefore, on the 7th of April 1990, a law was passed allowing a republic to secede, so to break away, if more than 2/3 of its residents voted for the secession in a referendum. In March 1990, democratic elections were organized in Latvia, and the candidates pro-independence political party, so the candidates of the pro-independence political party Popular Front of Latvia, gained a two-thirds majority in the Supreme Council. So this was the criteria, and they succeeded to get the two-thirds. So on the 4th of May 1990, this is a great moment for for all Latvians. Actually, there is a monument in Riga about this 4th of May 1990. The Supreme Council adopted the Declaration of the Restoration of Independence of the Republic of Latvia, and the Latvian SSR was renamed Republic of Latvia. So the old regime, the Soviet Union, tried to revert things, but the political and economic instabilities in the Soviet Union would seal Latvians' fate as an independent country. So they couldn't really concentrate on Latvia because they had to deal with their own problems, political and economic problems. So instabilities. In August 1991, Latvia together with Estonia followed Lithuania in declaring the restoration of their full independence. So they didn't wait for recognition this time as for the first time. So they just went for a full independence declaration this time. The dissolution of the Soviet Union eventually happened because the Soviet Union really weakened, and its dissolution eventually happened on the 26th of December 1991. Since the restoration of its independence, Latvia has joined the European Union, and that was in 2004, and the North Atlantic Alliance. So the North Atlantic Alliance, also known as NATO, in 2004, once again. As a result, Latvia reduced considerably its vulnerability. Last year, 2023, Latvia celebrated its 105th anniversary of independence. In just a century of history, Latvia has lived two world wars, a coup, an occupation, the deportation of its intelligentsia, and finally a renaissance, and Latvia is now born again from the ashes. Alright guys, that was a synopsis of the history of Latvia and its people. So thank you to follow us as well. Follow us for more. You can follow us on different platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok. We are not active yet on all of them, but we already created some channels, and we will try to update them as often as possible. So subscribe to our channels. You can find, for example, Awwnett.Latvian and myself, Gerard Beya, on Facebook, on Instagram for sure, and on YouTube you have my channel, my own channel, at Gerard Beya. So thank you so much. I'll see you for the third episode of this series. Take care. Cheers. Ata. Visu labu.